posted February 13, 2019, 11 hours 1 minute and 39 seconds. Four-time Olympian Phil Smyth has outlined an ambitious, uncosted idea to create a new, high-altitude, athletics center in the heart of the Territory outback. Taxpayer money budgeted for the sidelined Indigenous art gallery could be used to fund the training center. Mr. Smyth, saidAlice Springs Town Councillor Eli Melky has backed the proposal to be undertaken in the Anzac Oval precinctMr. Smyth said he believed this project would receive the support from traditional owners that was lacking with the gallery plan. The center is proposed for the same location where a national Indigenous art gallery plan was recently scrapped, said controversial Alice Springs Town Councillor and former Palmer United Party NT branch president Eli Melky, who has backed the idea. Mr. Smyth, an Adelaide-based ex-basketball player who represented Australia at the Olympics in 1980, 1984, 1988 and 1992, has released his vision for the proposed Alice Springs High-Altitude Training Center. He said the center could be used to reel in national, international and NT-based athletes to train in hot and high-altitude conditions. The initial concept is to build a high-performance center where the athletes can come in and train within high altitude, or if they want to use the heat, or they can use both, Mr. Smyth told the ABC, so you'd need to build a facility that's sustainable for that. He said the center could rival altitude training centers in Utah and Arizona in the U.S. I've spoken to a heap of athletes over the last fortnight, and coaches, none of them knew that Alice Springs was high altitude, Mr. Smyth said. A glossy media release outlining the vision for the center states, it has been long established and accepted that high-altitude training leads to fitness gains. Sports psychologist Randall L. Wilbur told the BBC in 2011 that a study of 48 runners found to effectively acclimatize and achieve an increase in red blood cell volume significant enough to enhance post-altitude endurance performance. They needed to live at an altitude of 2,000 to 2,500 meters. Alice Springs sits at an elevation of about 550 meters, compared to Melbourne City, which sits at 31 meters, and Adelaide at 50 meters. Gallery budget could get project started. Mr. Smyth said he hoped to rally both the federal and NT governments to cough up the money needed to fund the training center plan, and the $50 million budget being held to pay for a national Indigenous art gallery could be used. Look, you'd suspect the federal government would put some money in Alice Springs, the Northern Territory government would put some money in, he said. They've got $50 million sitting there at the moment for an art and cultural center that doesn't seem to be happening. Perhaps some of that money could transfer over in the short term to get it started to get people into Alice Springs. He said he did not believe gaining the unanimous support for the plan from Alice Springs traditional owners would be a problem, as it has been for the National Indigenous Art Gallery. Absolutely not, he said. The one great thing about sport, and the elders that I've spoken to, be they in Darwin or Alice Springs, they all love sport, and they see sport as the hook to get people in. Town Councillor backs plan. The plan is being pushed by Mr. Melky, who actively campaigned against the National Indigenous Art Gallery being built on Anzac Oval in the center of Alice Springs, as well as vocally opposing the plan and the Labour government's process of consulting over it. Mr. Melky also consulted with traditional owners prior to their decision to veto the gallery plans and presented their signed declaration disendorsing the project to the town's council. Despite his long-standing opposition to the Anzac precinct being used to house the gallery, he said it could be used to house this high-performance center. In terms of the gallery, that to me has been resolved, Mr. Melky said. The sport ovals including Anzac Oval make perfect sense, because you've got the disused school behind it. The school could be converted into an administration center. Plan not floated with Alice Springs Council when asked why he would support this project but not the gallery at the Anzac precinct, and if he had any agenda for supporting one but not the other. Mr. Melky said, this is not about the oval, we would use it exactly as it is for a sporting field. You would need some office space, and you would need some administration space, and it sounds like the Anzac High School could be. If it's not used for anything else, why let it go to waste? Why not put an administration center there? Mr. Melky, who recently announced he was setting up the NT chapter of Minor Party, the Australian Country Party, said he had not floated the idea with his fellow Alice Springs town councillors. This is purely a citizen Melky proposal, he said. Tourism, Sport and Culture Minister Lauren Moss was contacted for comment. Topics: Sport, Leisure, Extreme Sports, Politics and Government, Indigenous Policy, Alice Springs 0870, Darwin 0800, Canberra 2600, Adelaide 5000.